we couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off though with Manchester City. They have defeated United in a penalty shootout to win the Community Shield. Technically, it's the first competitive trophy of the season. We all know, what the Super Cup is and what it's not. Not the Super Cup. Speaking of the Super Cup, actually, one of those other sort of games that's coming up on Wednesday. But we all know what these Community Shields are. We take it for what it is and we leave what it's not. And we know it's a trophy, but we recognize the significance of it. Now, City and United, they went with some strong teams. City had Ederson out there, Kanji, Haaland, Kovacic, Doku, Ruben Diaz, Guardiola, Kanji. Also had some youth in there with O'Reilly, Bob, McCarty. United went a little bit more strong, with the Bruno, Mount, Rashford, Diallo, who's been probably their best sort of attacker this preseason. Kobe Mainoo, Casemiro, Lisandro playing in a different position. Dalot in there. There was a lot of the first team players, a lot of players that we're going to expect to see them start this weekend when they play their opening games with Manchester City taking on Chelsea respectively and United taking on, I believe, Fulham. A lot of players that we're going to see that are going to be involved in those games. And it was 2 late goals. Garnacho was able to get that go-ahead goal in the 82nd minute, and United thought, they might have just won the Community Shield there. But Bernardo Silva, the most little man on the pitch, in the 89th minute, is able to find an opening and head the ball home, find a sliver of space to be able to head the ball home, make it 1-1, and then it goes straight to extra time. Thank goodness they don't do extra times and community shields. They went straight to penalties, and we saw those weird sort of Andre Onana sort of mind games lined up on one side. We saw Kepa do something similar to an extent in that Liverpool, I believe it was the EFL Cup final. He leaned a little bit towards the right. Van Dijk still blasted it that way. But this was just completely unique what I saw from Onana, and it did not work. Conceded 7 penalties. And overall though, in terms of overall sort of, the 90 minutes, sort of even game. 9 shots for City, 8 shots for United, 1 shot for City, 1 shot on target for City, 2 shots on target for United. 56% possession for Manchester City, 44% for Manchester United. Nothing crazy in terms of the game. I thought the game was pretty dull. There was still about 80,000 in the stadium, so there was an atmosphere. But in terms of the game, no excitement, to be honest. The late drama made it, bigger than what it was. But again, it's the Community Shield, and let's be honest, this is a glorified preseason. But there was some performances though. There was some players that especially in United side that should be fearing for their jobs. Not jobs. That's too much, but should really have no business playing, and that has to be Rashford against Fulham. Rashford was not good enough. Mason Mount, terrible. Diallo was actually very exciting to watch, and is a player that I think should get more minutes as he starts in the tournament because he had a good preseason. Him, Garnacho, the youth there, the youth excitement. I think there's some stuff to be excited for. But apart from these players like Mount to Rashford, Sancho coming on the 83rd minute, they weren't good enough. They weren't good enough, and I don't think they should be rewarded of the performances are not there. I don't think they should be. I don't think that they should be rewarded. And again, we were talking about before this when we were previewing the FA Cup, or not the FA Cup, the Community Shield. I said this was important for Erik ten Hag because you want to enter this season on some sort of positive momentum. Because if United get off to a bad start, Erik ten Hag is going to be gone, and it's going to be, already Ruud van Nistelrooy. There's a lot of rumors already that he's tipped to be, not rumors actually, but a lot of talk that Van Nistelrooy, this is the first time he's been on the sideline as the assistant coach. A lot of talk about him potentially being the guy to replace Erik ten Hag, and this is before the Premier League season even started. So it just shows the sort of pressure that Erik ten Hag is gonna be under. And you wanted to start off with a little bit of positive momentum. Not the biggest loss in the world, but again, they kept it competitive, and they were, they didn't get played out of the park. So I don't think this loss does much damage, other than the fact that I guess you can look at it as a trophy getting away from them. And now they have guys like Matthijs, Ligt, and Mazraoui that are set to come in, which we'll talk about next segment. So, there's a little bit interesting times with Manchester United. City have lost the Community Shield actually. I believe last few times they've lost the Community Shield. So they were able to, get this sort of trophy. They got some of their players. There's some of their youth players on there. Some of the players coming up the youth ranks, which is really good to get them playing in this sort of atmosphere. The best sort of experience is getting to let these, the McCaddies, the Bobs, playing in front of the 78,000 fans. There's not much better experience than that. Not much more better ways we can learn about, or a player can, get used to the atmosphere than that. This is real sort of test for them, and it's good. And Guardiola, he didn't just send out all the youth players. He mixed up a good amount of first team players with some of the youth players that have played well in preseason, to put the youth players in an opportunity to show off their class. And I thought they were solid overall. And again, all this is for the build-up for the start of the season now with City. They're taking on Chelsea, that opening game. There's times in the past that, facing Chelsea, is a big game. But it is at Stamford Bridge. But let's be fair, this is City's to lose, and overall, a good way for City to start off their preseason. They've also, their season. They're also coming off, I believe, like 4 straight losses in preseason. So it's good to get on the right side. You don't want to enter on the season on 5 straight losses. No matter if the players that are playing in these sort of games are not the players that are going to be involved when it comes to the season. You don't want to start off with 5 losses. That's a really bad way to start off. That's not a really bad way, but it's a little inconvenient. You don't want your first win with the new kids to be, in the Premier League season. So being able to get that monkey off their back is good overall. And I think Guardiola's going to be very satisfied with how the game went. Him being able to get his hands on the Community Shield overall is very, very solid. The late drama made it great for the fans. The atmosphere there was great, as I said, 78,000. So overall, great win for City. United, I think the biggest takeaway of United is understanding, some of these players that had good past at other clubs or at United, the Rashfords, the Mason Mounts, the Jadon Sanchos. These sort of players should not be playing of these players like Diallo and Garnacho that are just outplaying them and out excelling them. And also another good sign for them is with Casemiro coming out. That Casemiro looked really, really solid today, which is, maybe there's some potential there for him to sort of get back to where he was pre-last season. Who knows? Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss the Ligt and Mazraoui closing in on becoming Manchester United players.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we talked about City defeating United in a penalty shootout to win the Community Shield. We move on to react to Matthijs, Ligt, and Mazraoui. They are on the verge of becoming Manchester United players. With these with Matthijs, Ligt, and Mazraoui. When I constantly talk about the transfers, I had a feeling inside that these are sort of transfers that are just gonna be rumors. And they're never going to fall through, and United fans are going to be disappointing, like they are constantly disappointed when it comes to the transfer window and the efficiency of Manchester United in sort of the transfer business side of football. But it seems like they held on. There was rumors even more strong than rumors. It seemed like a agreed deal when it came to West Ham and Mazraoui that didn't go through. And now it seems like not only is United able to get Matthijs de Ligt, but they're also able to get Mazraoui, which is incredible. The medicals are being completed. Brilliant. Brilliant is a little bit of a stretch because I think this is a de Ligt and Mazraoui that didn't take that leap that they were both expecting when they were went to Bayern Munich. Matthijs de Ligt was on the bench. He ended up getting benched by Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer came in on loan, and he ended up, starting over him. During the period of that second half of the season, Mazraoui, he's never been that consistent right back game in game out at Bayern. He's been in and out of the team, and sometimes he's even played in his natural position, not even playing right back sometimes when Alphonso Davies has been out. It's a chance for both of them to get on a new path. With Matthijs de Ligt, they talk about all the big clubs that he's been at. Going from Ajax to Juventus to Bayern, now to Manchester United. This is a dude, Matthijs de Ligt, that's he's been at Ajax, Juventus, Ajax, Juventus, Bayern Munich, and Manchester United, and this is a player that's only 25 years old. That's a little ridiculous, I have to say. Not ridiculous, but that's a caution for concern. Not saying he failed at all the at the Juventus and Bayerns. No, I think Juventus to Bayern was strictly him wanting to make a next move in his career. I think him going from Bayern to United has a lot to do with the struggles that he's had at Bayern Munich, and I think he's kind of has been a disappointment at Bayern compared to what he expected Bayern to be. I don't think he expected, I don't think he entered Bayern thinking, this is a club I'm gonna be at for a few seasons, and I'm gonna take another leap to another club. No, I thought he expected Bayern Munich to be that leap. It didn't work out for him. Now he wants to go. Now he wants a change of scenery. Wants to reunite with a coach that he played his best football at, with Erik ten Hag at Ajax. That's when they reached the Champions League final. That was when he was a captain as a 19-year-old, being the leader of the team. Not just a leader at the back, but being a leader in terms of the emotional leader, being the captain of the team. And it was with the team with some experience too. There was Dusan Tadic that was in that team. Daley Blind. He was also I believe. Yeah, Daley Blind was also a part of that team at Ajax, and I believe that was 2019 or so, and he was the captain. So, he has a good pedigree to him, but why has it not worked out at Bayern Munich? As far as Mazraoui, again, this is a sort of right back, has in terms of technical quality, good in tight spaces for a right back, good and tidy. In terms of his end product, he's not the best crosser of the ball. He has, he can play in a ball, but really his biggest ability in terms of being as a right back is his ability to be in possession, like a possession sort of right back, sort of similar to like a Sergio Dest, with more quality in terms of he's not Trent Alexander-Arnold. This is not a guy that you're going to get the ball to and he's going to whip in ridiculous balls and he's going to get 10 plus assists. He won't give you that, but he'll give you a right back that's number one. He's solid defensively. He's very, very comfortable on the ball, can dribble, can play in tight spaces, can be a part of a possession-based team. Has the energy levels to make the runs as a fullback. And again, he does everything that Wan-Bissaka can too in terms of his just pure ability on the ball, his pure footballing nature to him. He's a very, very good footballer, which hence made him a good right back at the same time. And I think there's some potential there. Now Mazraoui, you play him on the left-hand side, he basically has no left foot, so he'll give you a solid defender in that aspect. But he's not someone, I've seen him play at left back a lot now. And it's not really his strength. Which you don't expect him to be when that is his weak side. But I don't want United fans getting carried away. Oh, he can play on the right, he can play on the left. He could be a makeshift left back, but he won't be a good left back. He'd be makeshift. In terms of right back in general, I still think there's still even a ceiling for him in terms of how good of a right back he's going to be. I don't know, because again, why has it not worked at Manchester United? It's like at Bayern Munich. It's like Gravenberch. When Gravenberch made that move to Liverpool, why wasn't Gravenberch working at Bayern? I say the same thing about Mazraoui as well. Why he wasn't able to take the next step at Bayern Munich? But yeah, it overall adds to the squad depth of this team. I think these are two players that immediately they're gonna become starters in the fact that they're two much needed positions in the team. Right back, the issues United have had for right back now for a few years now. And then center half with Lene Yoro going down, there's someone that's needed there next to Lisandro Martinez. I believe, Erik ten Hag and United fans, they think still having Harry Maguire or Lindelof still in that starting lineup is a step backwards from what what they've been trying to build over the past few years, and that's trying to make some progress. So I think a guy like the Ligt, I think he provides more. I think he gives you the physical nature of a Harry Maguire, but just more consistent defender and just a better player overall than Matthijs de Ligt, than Harry Maguire. So yeah, there's that added initiative there. Do you think, we can criticize the signing, all that, but the biggest thing that we have to say is these are two players that are going to come in. They're going to immediately be starting level players for Manchester United, which is good. We've seen, they sign a guy like Joshua Zirkzee earlier this window. We were, we saying, okay, that's a decent signing, but at the same time, This is not Matthijs de Ligt. Joshua Zirkzee is not a guy that can come in and immediately be a starter for Manchester United. He's not far from it. He didn't even have double-digit goals in Serie A as a forward. So, and the fees are not ridiculous. Matthijs de Ligt, about 42.9 or about 50 million euros or so. Mazraoui is only Mazraoui's deal is only around 15 million or so. So overall, it's about 65 million spent on two players that are probably going to start at the football club. I mean that's a brilliant move. In my opinion, that is brilliant. There's an upside there with Mazraoui to make that deal worth it. There is an upside there right now. United, they started off in that Manchester City game. They played Dalot right back. I think Mazraoui is probably a better player than Dalot. If not, I think he can push Dalot there. And I think Dalot has been one of their more consistent performers. But Dalot is not exactly someone that's completely... But the most important thing at the same time with Mazraoui is he provides squad depth. That's the most important thing too. You're bringing in, instead of bringing in Wan-Bissaka, who gives you nothing in attack coming from the right-hand side, Dalot comes down and you can bring in Mazraoui that has the ability, has that technical ability. The ball gets to him. Defenses, they're not gonna leave, Mazraoui in acres of space to do whatever he wants on the ball the way that they would do with Wan-Bissaka and clog up space for other players. I think with having Mazraoui in there instead of Wan-Bissaka, it just makes everything more fluid, and the fact that teams are not going to hone in on one side and leave the other side open, because there'll be times in the past that Wan-Bissaka, he'll be in miles of space because he's no threat to the opposition, or the opposition, at least the opposition doesn't deem him as any sort of threat. I don't think you can do that the same way you would do with Wan-Bissaka to Mazraoui. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about Chelsea trying to sign João Felix.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we talked about Ligt and Mazraoui closing in on becoming United players. We move on to talk about Chelsea having to sign João Felix. Or trying to sign João Felix after Omoro Dion deal fell through, which I want to discuss that first. Obviously, I was very critical of the Samuel Omoro Dion deal in the first place. The fact that it was even a possibility really alarmed me. Really alarmed me. This is a Omoro Dion, by the way, that wasn't even a starter on Spain's Olympic team, and I don't understand this at all. But now there's a major problem. In the 11th hour, the deal collapsed. Chelsea originally agreed a €34.5 million deal with Atletico Madrid to take Omoro Dion to Chelsea with a 7-year contract. But there was a major issue in terms of the contract, and now the move fell apart. I want to there's no exactly there's no news exactly what part of it was the reason why it fell apart. But the main thing is it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. But now Chelsea have turned their attention somehow, some way, to João Felix. They're eyeing João Felix, which will be the same negotiations, doing it with the with Atletico Madrid. João Felix, yes, João Felix, he was at Barcelona last year, but he was on loan from Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid still has his rights. It's been told that Chelsea and Atletico Madrid are working on a deal for João Felix to return to Chelsea, so that Conor Gallagher, who's kind of been stuck right now, he's in Madrid, he's kind of stuck in the hotel waiting for this to go through, but so that Conor Gallagher can join the La Liga side. Atletico, they're keen to see João Felix move. João Felix, he spent 6 months on loan in 2023, the second half of 2023, during the Graham Potter time, which honestly, he was one of our more better players. He couldn't get in the back of the net like every other striker that's been at Chelsea. But in terms of general play, I thought he had some very solid moments. I thought he played some very, very good games. I thought he was tidy, very good on the ball in tight spaces, opened up play for other players as well, got in some dangerous areas, was not clinical enough in front of goal, and overall just not good enough, not consistent enough, not clinical enough. But there was some good signs there. With the Omar Dion plans changing, it does put Conor Gallagher's transfer in danger right now. Then I think there's some sort of thing that Atletico Madrid needs to move on, needs to open up some sort of space to get Conor Gallagher in. So, and there's been a lot of conflicting rumors on why the Omar Dion is not going through, which is that's something else. Look, Atletico Madrid, they've had a very, very good transfer window. They've been very, very busy signing Ruben Lenomard, Alexander Sorlas, now trying to Julian Alvarez, and now they're trying to get Gallagher, but they haven't sold that much. So it's kind of we can kind of understand why they need to sell either Omar Dion or João Felix. Need to open up some space. Now, the João Felix thing to Chelsea, for me, it's just like been there, done that. It's the same sort of player, player overall very, very good, very, very, very tight, blah, blah, blah. But like, how are you gonna play him and Nkunku? These are both kind of similar sort of players. How are you gonna play him and Nkunku? You just said Pedro Neto. You already have Mikhail Mudryk. You already have Cole Palmer. You have Nane Madueke. You have Raheem Sterling. You just have so many set of players that are kind of all those fluid front three sort of players, a lot of wingers, some false nine, play right underneath the striker sort of players, and Nkunku, João Felix. What's the point in bringing a player in like João Felix? Now, are you just making this happen just so Conor Gallagher can you can get money out of him? If that's the case, is that how you really is that how really the business of football works? I don't understand with all these sort of players that you've been signing. Why not just, you sign all these sort of players in the attacking position, sign all these sort of mid-level goalkeepers. Why don't you just save all that money you've spent and get one world-class keeper, one world-class striker, and build around them? And for me, that would have been Osimhen and Mike Maignan. But instead, they're doing all this dancing, flip-flopping around. And again, João Felix is just a sort of similar player. He's not going to get the ball into the back of the net, and that's what Chelsea need. Chelsea need a consistent goal scorer, and he does not provide that. And nothing Chelsea has done so far this transfer window gives you a consistent goal scorer. The biggest takeaways I had at the end of last season was we need a consistent goal scorer and a consistent shot stopper. We have not got either. A consistent goal scorer and a consistent shot stopper automatically makes you 15 points better, at least. In my opinion, at least. You got a clinical goal scorer, you got a clinical shot stopper. And in the way we watch Chelsea, how many games did we, how many goals did we concede that we were like, yeah, the goalkeeper, maybe he could have done a little bit better. There was no clear-cut mistakes, don't get me wrong, game in, game out from the goalkeeper. But how many goals you saw? That's not beating a good goalkeeper. That's not really beating a good goalkeeper. Or how many chances we created? Oh, if there's a number 9 making that sort of run, if there was a number 9 at the right place at the right time, like they're always at, that probably could have been on the end, that he could have probably been on the end of that, at least tested the keeper. How many times, or most likely not get a goal, how many times have we thought that? I'm telling you right now, Chelsea are a world-class striker and a world-class goalkeeper away from not just getting into top 4, but potentially battling once they get into that top 4. That's how obvious I think Chelsea's issues are. But instead they want to dance around it and flip-flop around it and say, oh, let's get this sort of play, this sort of play, this play. This squad is inflated, so you know what? Why don't we just keep inflating it even more? For me, makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. And João Felix coming in, it's confusing. It's sad. It's difficult. I don't want to be too negative because, again, I like João Felix as a player, but he doesn't have that sort of takeover nature to him. And, we need that at this football club. We have Cole Palmer that gives you a little bit of that. But in terms of, we need that sort of attacker, that takeover attacker in terms of, we need a goal. We need a goal. We can rely on him. He'll get on the end of a cross. He'll do this. João Felix is not that sort of player. João Felix is like every other player that we have at this football club. Oh, there's some talent in there. You can get the best out of him. You put him at the right place at the right time. Some ability there. But again, he's not going to be the guy that's get the goals. He's just another guy that can create for other players. Well, we have a bunch of players that can create, but nobody to actually get the ball in the back. And Pedro Neto signing, okay, it's decent in terms of the fact that he's very, very direct. He's very, very vertical. He'll take on a man. He'll beat a man or to open up space and create an opportunity for someone else. Who's he going to create an opportunity for? There's no freaking striker at the club. There's no real finisher at the club. There's no goal scorer at the club. There's no goal scorer at the club at all. So who are all these players, all these strikers, all these wingers, all these creative sort of players that you're getting? Who's gonna get the goals? Who's gonna get the goals? Nicholas Jackson. He had an amazing goal out here last season, but we can't expect that again. 22 goals? Are you kidding me? No, there's no way he's scoring 22 goals again. And keep in mind, he scored 22 goals, but 10 of them were penalty kicks, I believe. 10 or 9 or something like that. So those numbers are a little skewed. He's not a 20 goal scorer game. Nicholas Jackson had 14 goals, and, you think about how many opportunities that he missed. How many opportunities he made, and he scored 14 goals. How many opportunities do you remember Nicholas Jackson missed? Now put a competent striker up there with the amount of chances we created. Nicholas Jackson scored 14 goals. Yeah, you have a guy like Osimhen there. He'd score 30 goals. If Nicholas Jackson able to get 14 goals with the amount of clear-cut opportunities that he misses, how much can a guy like Osimhen? How many goals can a guy like Osimhen score? He could score at least 30, and 14-30 completely changes how Chelsea is viewed, completely change how Chelsea is feared whenever they're going up against opponents, It just completely changes the whole story, in my opinion, That's just frankly how I see it. There's a real issue there. And again, João Felix becoming, it's just the same old Chelsea. It's the same old Chelsea. They don't learn from their mistakes under this new ownership group, and I feel like we're heading in a very, very bad direction. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to the U.S. women's national team winning gold at this summer's Olympic Games.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
this feel. Put 2,000 on my feet.
Before the break, we talked about the Chelsea trying to sign João Felix after the Omoro Deon deal couldn't get through. We move on to talk about the U.S. Women's National Team. They have won gold at this summer's Olympic Games for the first time since, believe it or not, the Olympic Games in 2012 in London. This is a U.S. Women's National Team. Historically, since women's football, the rise of women's football, they've been a very, very dominant force in World Cups and Olympic Games. Lately, though, they have not been so dominant. Only go back a year ago, last summer, they got eliminated in the round of 16 of the Women's World Cup to Sweden. And keep in mind, if we have to be honest, they were lucky to even be there. The game before that, the final matches of their group stages, there was a Portugal player on the break. I forgot her name, but she was on the break, and she hits the post. The post in the final minutes of the game in stoppage time. She hits the post. The ball goes 2 inches to the left side. We're talking about U.S. Women's National Team getting eliminated in the group stages. After winning back-to-back World Cups in 2015 and 2019. So there's obviously, and in terms of Olympic Games, they've really, since 2012, they've really suffered. Quarterfinals in 2016. They got eliminated in the semifinals in 2021. They've had a little bit of Olympic drought, but they've still been able to maintain success in the World Cup. So we weren't really worried about the Olympic Games, but till last summer, that's when the real worries started coming with the U.S. Women's National Team. It's when they that very disappointing failure of a World Cup. At that World Cup. So, it's the U.S., now they brought in Emma Hayes. She came in a few months after the end of the Women's Super League, and she's done a complete she's done a complete U-turn on this team, new team. She's made some gutsy decisions throughout the process, just going back to the final, the gold medal final against Brazil. She benched Rose Lavelle. Rose Lavelle is one of the premier players at this U.S. Women's National Team program, especially of this generation, Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Horan, Alyssa Nair, one of the few players that actually have won a World Cup. She benched Rose Lavelle in this game, decided to go with a different approach, and, they won. The U.S. Women's National Team defeated Brazil in the sort of classic game in the fact that, U.S. Women's National Team versus Brazil, those are the sort of games that, we think about when it comes to the history of women's soccer. Mallory Swanson was able to get the goal to lift them to the win. And the U.S. Women's National Team, they returned back to the top. And it just shows, it's a lesson to the U.S. Men's National Team and the people making the hire to hire the U.S. Men's National Team, which is the same sort of people that made, well, not the same. But it's a lesson to them what coaching can do. Coaching can make that sort of difference, Coaching can lift you better to the sum of your parts. Coaching can take you to that next level. And Emma Hayes and this U.S. Women's National Team, what they did at this Olympic Games is a perfect example of that. And it's it should be a sort of source of motivation for these, for the people making this hire, in that you get this sort of hire, right? You're completely changing the outlook for U.S. men's national team. Now, the U.S. women's soccer team, they entered these Olympic Games with a retooled roster, but man, what they've been able to do, they've been gritty. Number one, they dominated the group stages, getting 3-0 wins over Jamaica, over Zambia, Germany, dismantling Australia as well. Then going on the knockout stages and getting some real tough, stern tests that took dedication and that took late game winners. You're talking about an extra time winner against Japan. You're talking about a late winner against Germany. And then now this one, being stalemate in the first half, getting that breakthrough in the 57th minute and having to defend a 1-0 lead, being careful with that. They showed a combination of pure dominance and grit at these Olympic Games. They've shown a good blend of skill and ability and discipline, with also perseverance and resilience and mental, and they were never, actually, another brilliant stat about this is they were never down the entire tournament at these Olympic Games. They were never ever down. That's absolutely brilliant. In fact, not only they were never down, they never looked in danger at these Olympic Games in terms of potentially, being in trouble. I never saw, maybe, obviously, going down the stretch in the Japan game, 0-0 late in the game, obviously, you're just in danger naturally by the moment. But I never thought, they're getting dominated in this period. They could be in real trouble. We're looking at U.S. women's national team. They're about to go home. Never thought that while watching this. Never thought that. By the way, speaking of Emma Hayes magic, Corbin Albert, who's inserted by Emma Hayes into the starting lineup for the final. Well, probably she's the one that came in for Roosevelt. She's the one that hit that ball into the pass of Mallory Swanson on the 57th minute. A great ball, great timing of the run. The commentator originally thought she was offsides. It was a great timing of the run by Mallory Swanson. Great weight on the ball. Great timing of the release of the ball by Corbin Albert. And this a little moment of magic. And then also, Alyssa Nair. Brilliant one-handed save on the header in stoppage time. Brilliant save. And Alyssa Nair, exactly. She's one of the experienced players on the squad. She's one of the players that's won a Women's World Cup on the squad. So her experience is important and showed up big time in that sort of moment. And by the way, she hasn't had the biggest of tournaments, Alyssa Nair. She made the saves when needed to, but she hasn't had the biggest of tournaments because she hasn't been peltered at these Olympic Games. The defense has been extremely solid. We saw what Emma Hayes said talking about Noemi Girma. This is I don't want to misquote her, actually, so I'm gonna pull up the quote exactly, but it was glowing criticism. I mean, not glowing criticism, glowing praise. She called Girma the best defender I have ever seen. Let me just read the quote exactly what she said. Look, she's the best. By the way, this was after the 1-0 win over Germany in the semifinal. And by the way, in the knockout stages, quarterfinal, semifinal, final, the U.S. women's national team didn't concede a single goal. The one goal that they conceded was in the group stages. It was that second game, the equalizer of Germany. Later on, it was a deep shot, kind of a freak goal to concede. Apart from that, in terms of open play, didn't concede goals, didn't even concede much chances. But going back to what Emma Hayes said after the 1-0 win over Germany in the semifinal game, she said, look, she's the best defender I've ever seen. I've never seen a player as good as her at the back. She's got everything: poise, composure, she can defend, she anticipates, she leads, she's unbelievable. That is glowing criticism from Emma Hayes that's been part of, some really great Chelsea teams. Really great Chelsea teams. And when and Girma, she was actually part of the team that got knocked out at the Women's World Cup a year ago. That was her first tournament, and now what she's been able to do this time around is brilliant, and she's been really good. Lindsay Horan being the sort of leader, Alyssa Nair making that save, that moment that we were waiting for Alyssa Nair. It came in that final sort of stages of the Olympic Games. She came up with the save. Marta, she started off on the bench, which is expected, with the fact that she hasn't played the last 2 games because of the suspension, and they've been able to turn it around and win the get to the gold medal game, essentially without her in the past 2 games. But she's able to walk away with the silver medal as she, exits the Olympic Games. Her final time, she exits the women's national team at the final time. And, I just want to quickly shout out to her. What a GOAT. Great career. And, speaking after the game, she said, "I am crying out of gratitude, happiness. I'm not crying because we won silver. Look how much we had to overcome to win this silver." They have had to overcome a lot as a women's football team. In general, she's been an absolutely brilliant player. The longevity has been unbelievable. She also said, "This is a feeling of pride, a lot of pride. When I won silver in 2004 and 2008, I didn't feel as proud. We waited for 16 years to play an Olympic final again. For our history in previous competition, let's be honest, almost no one believed Brazil was going to be in the final, leaving here with a medal." And nobody expected it. It was a shock heard all around the world whenever they were able to get past Spain, especially in the fashion way they did it, how clinical they were in counterattack. So salute to Brazil, salute to Marta, and overall I thought it was a really good Olympic Games in general, because it's the final topic. We'll probably be talking about the Olympic Games on GSMC. And overall it was a great Olympic Games, and it's sad whenever the end comes, because now it's sort of the clock again for the next 4 years. And I look forward to the next ones, because that's going to be in LA. The time zones are going to be perfect. No more staying up, You wake up in the morning, you're going to see live Olympic Games. You go to bed at night, it's going to be prime time, NBC prime time Olympics. So we're all looking forward. The countdown is on for the next 4 years in LA. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top soccer headlines. before the break, we talked about the U.S. Women's National Team winning gold for the first time since London 2012. We move on to discuss some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. And we gotta start off with Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, he has signed a contract extension with Manchester United. It's been reported it's very, very close to happening. Man United, they've closed to agreeing a new deal with him. There's good spirit amongst both sides in terms of getting this deal done. The contract is reported to be until 2027, and then there's another option of a further year, not specified whether it's a player option or the team's option. Fernandes, he's been at the club since the January of 2020, and he only has 2 years left on his deal that he signed in 2022. So he wanted to redo it, and he's had a good 4.5 years at the club, has had over 220 appearances, scored 73 goals, and had 65 assists, which is a very, very good number in terms of goals and assists. Good contribution. And Bruno Fernandes, in the past season, in the 2023-24 season, in terms of chances created, he was first. In terms of big chances he created, he was second. And in terms of passes played into the box, he was first. And that's good. That's what you want from a creative midfielder. He's also the captain of the team. There's been some times that he's been under big criticism, and a lot of it has been deservedly so. The way he whines, his whinging sometimes, the way he is always crying to the referee, something that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way. Don't get me wrong. And it's something that that needs to be changed, especially if he's going to be the club captain. But overall, I do think he's important to Manchester United. I think he hasn't got out of his career what he wanted, and so far at Manchester United, the fact that he hasn't won he's won a FA Cup and EFL Cup, but hasn't really won the trophies that he came to United to win, and that is the Premier League and the Champions League. And if we have to be honest, he hasn't even really particularly came close to winning those sort of big trophies that Bruno Fernandes would have wanted entering United. So I think it's a situation where I think I wouldn't really particularly stay at Manchester United if I was a player like Bruno Fernandes, but it's a club that he seems to love. The positive spirit is definitely there from him. I think he enjoys the fact that he's captain. I think that's made his emotional connection to the club grow even bigger, and the fact that he's been handed the captain's armband. So, we'll see if that thing goes through. Vinicius Jr. in Saudi Arabia. Vinicius Jr. has been the latest target, another ridiculous card that Saudi Pro League has had, there's been a formal offer sent for Vinicius. Real Madrid, they'll never allow that. Let's just get that out of the way. Vinicius Jr. I've seen reports that Vinicius Jr. is considering it. I happen to think that in my opinion, not in my opinion, but what I think. Okay, I guess in my opinion, I don't think that's true. There's no way that's true. Vinicius Jr., there's no way he's even considering that. There's no way that comes across his mind. Yes, they can offer him whatever they want to offer him, but let's be for real. This one was a little tricky. I mean, not tricky, but a little surprising for me. Fabio Carvalho, who actually had some good moments in preseason, he's leaving Liverpool. Brentford was able to sign him on a 5-year deal with the deal worth around 27.5 million euros, which is interesting to me. I thought Fabio Carvalho was a player that that was the Arne Slot would want to work with. So no, that's not gonna happen. He's going to be playing at Brentford on a full deal. So good move for him. I think this is a chance for him to get minutes game in, game out, and to play under Thomas Frank. I think he has a chance to develop. And the fact that he's 21, there's still potential there. Zubin Mendy, I talked about this going to happen. It's not happening. He has rejected Liverpool transfer to stay at Real Sociedad. He has rejected that move. So that's wow. I didn't see that happening. I thought it was almost done. But apparently he didn't even want the move to happen. So yeah, now they're gonna. I assume Liverpool are gonna look at other options to potentially take on that midfield role. And we'll see. But I was a little surprised by that move by that stance. Giroud, he's going to be available for LAFC to debut in the Leagues Cup. Chelsea lonely U.S. defender Wiley, who's actually part of the U.S. men's Olympic soccer team. He's going to be on loan to Strasbourg. Alvarez, that transfer has been sealed. Monaco, they were able to, this one is interesting, they were able to trounce, Monaco was able to trounce Barcelona 3-0 in that sort of annual Trofeo Joan Gamper game. It was a very, very disappointing 3-0 loss to Monaco. It's only preseason, but it happened, and it's not the best way to end off your preseason campaign, or to have last game that you have before you take on your opening game of the La Liga season. Not the best way to go down. Solanke is official, done deal. He's a Tottenham player. What a signing for Tottenham. What a sign for Ange Postecoglou, and we'll see if that can make that sort of difference for them. Emerson Royal, he's going to be going out of the club. AC Milan was able to sign Emerson from Tottenham, so he's going to be an AC Milan player. That's going to be interesting to see how he does at AC Milan. Let's be honest though, Emerson Royal just not quite at the level of a team really up there in the Premier League competing for those sort of positioning. But Emerson Royal, he does have some ability here and there. But yes, guys, thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sport Network. Your support means a lot to us. So please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.